How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Michael and welcome to FudgeMuppet. Today I have a brand new Skyrim build for you using an armor set we haven't really showcased on the channel yet. It's heavy chitin armor and it will be your main armor while playing as the Heretic. But who is the Heretic and why is he called the Heretic? Well, a heretic is someone who violates established rules and tenets of a religion or belief system and holds ideologies that oppose the norm. Let's take a look at the backstory to find out more. The Heretic was born in Morrowind within the city of Necrom and grew up within a family of very traditional Dunmer. The family had instilled many values within the Heretic when he was young, but often parents have no control over the path their child takes in life, especially after they reach adulthood. Within the province of Morrowind where the Dunmer are from, necromancy is outlawed and the majority of the population, including the Heretic's family, see it as a disgusting act. The Dunmer revere their ancestors and believe it is a crime to take control of them. Because of this perspective, the family of the Heretic were outraged to learn that his uncle was a necromancer. It was only days after his death that his personal journals were found and his dark secret was revealed. Normally one would not snoop through the belongings of the dead, but there was a foul stench coming from its pages, and so the father of the Heretic had opened it to discover why. After the entire family became aware of the findings, the uncle of the Heretic was immediately shamed and given no respect. The Heretic, however, never fully understood what was wrong with necromancy. He couldn't help but feel it was not the best practice, but he didn't see it as some sin that was worthy of exile. The mother of the Heretic declared that the dead uncle was not worthy of the traditional Dunmer cremation, and so the family took his corpse outside the city and dumped it in the wild. The family brought all his books, notes, and journals with them to the body, but piled them 10 feet away from him and set them all on fire. No dark elf would ever need to read about such evil matters. It was at the end of a tiring day when the Heretic was helping take the journals and books to be burnt, when immense curiosity came over him before throwing the final journal away. Without the rest of his kin seeing, he took the journal for himself, putting it in his pocket and telling them that the final book was in the fire. Going back to their home, the Heretic isolated himself in his room, and with everyone else asleep, he opened up the journal and began to read. Necromancy didn't seem as iniquitous as his family made it out to be, and it also seemed quite easy. The Heretic had a crazy desire to reanimate something, but there were no creatures or bodies in close proximity. Feeling almost manic and now very excited, the Heretic left his home and ventured out to the corpse of his uncle. As weird as it was, he wouldn't feel as strange reanimating a person who had no worries reanimating others. However, little did he know that his father was onto him, and tracked him outside the city to the area where some serious action was about to take place. His father had to trail quite far behind as to not be seen, and when the Heretic arrived at his uncle, his father was still a minute behind. Taking out the journal and mustering up his courage, the Heretic casted his first ever reanimation spell. He stood in a mix of horror and amazement as his uncle came to life in front of him. He was standing there moaning with an ethereal glow, and now calming down, the Heretic felt proud and delighted by his creation. Unfortunately, however, footsteps were approaching, and he predicted he was being followed. With nothing else to do but act fast, the Heretic picked up a rusty sword of the uncle that had been burnt amongst the books, and he chopped off his uncle's head. It was an act done in panic to get rid of the reanimation before anyone could see it. His father came into the clearing, seeing the uncle's zombie head fall on the ground, and his son holding a sword in one hand and a dark journal in the other. In a rage, the father ran at his son, and seeing the violent intent in his father's eyes, the Heretic used the sword to thrust it through his attacker. The Heretic, now mentally changed forever, travelled far away from his family. They could never know what had happened here. The Heretic now had a new addiction, and hearing of the civil war in Skyrim, he headed here in order to take advantage of the troubles people were facing. There should be plenty of dead soldiers around Skyrim to be reanimated to further study necromancy. The Heretic had truly betrayed his culture and family, and would be considered the opposite of what a Dunmer should be. The Heretic isn't obsessed with killing people, but he just loves necromancy so much that he will kill people to resurrect them. After spending some time in Skyrim, the Heretic will also get wrapped up in the story of the Dawnguard DLC, and will choose to become a vampire lord, help the vampires, and become even more of a traitor to his people than ever before. This is because vampires are the creation of Molag Bal, and Molag Bal is a member of the House of Troubles. The gear for the Heretic is simply an ebony sword and a full set of heavy chitin armor. You will not be using a shield in your left hand, but rather a reanimation or healing spell. The skills for the Heretic are one-handed heavy armor, restoration, and conjuration. One-handed will be used for his ebony sword, and heavy armor will be used to move around without penalty and also to make your chitin armor much stronger. These two skills are the bread and butter of surviving as the Heretic, but it's restoration and conjuration that bring the ham and cheese. Conjuration won't actually be used to conjure Daedra, but will of course be used for your necromancy. You're going to be resurrecting the dead as much as possible outside of battle for your enjoyment, but of course in battle too. Even though you don't have sneak, you'll often want to get the drop on enemies, and by this I mean reanimate any corpse in the room before you are spotted. This isn't a necessity, but it always helps. Another way to get the drop on your enemies is to sprinting power attack one of them, and then while his allies start turning around to spot you, you resurrect him and fight them with him on your side. You also don't need to use dead thralls, but if there are any cool companions you want to follow you around for ages, then you can use it. Restoration will be used to heal yourself, but also to heal your undead. You'll need to do this using the Heal Undead spell that you get during the Dawnguard DLC when you side with the Volkihar vampires. We'll have a perk link in the description for you so you can see all the perks the Heretic uses, and while you're there, be sure to hit the like button if you're a Skyrim builds fan. I'd also like to say that one perk you will be getting when you decide to do the Dawnguard is the Necromage perk. Because this affects undead and you are undead, it will make your magical effects far stronger than they were. The playstyle for the Heretic is often using your enemies against each other through the power of necromancy. If you can take out one enemy in an area with your sword, you can then reanimate them and command him or her against those who remain. For this reason, the Heretic likes to target the strongest enemies first, who he can power attack and focus damage on quickly to then kill and use against other targets in the area. Of course, this isn't always ideal, so sometimes for larger scale fights, the Heretic will bring dead thralls with him. Preparation is a good strategy you can choose to use. You're almost always going to have your sword in your right hand and a spell in your left. This spell will usually be a reanimate spell until of course you have used it as much as you're going to for that battle. You will then switch your left hand spell to heal undead and follow your reanimation, keeping it alive and fighting with it. If you're feeling unique, you can dual wield heal undead and be like a medic for your reanimation, mending its flesh as it gets damaged and does the fighting for you. Of course, sometimes you will change the spell to a healing spell to restore your own health and not focus on keeping your reanimations alive. This is particularly the case for weaker reanimations or just when your focus is to clear out an area as fast as possible. For a standing stone, we're actually going with the Ritual Stone this week to reanimate all the undead around you once per day. This is of course another aspect of the Heretic's playstyle, as he can often wipe out heaps of enemies himself and with his thralls, and then revive all of them at once to take out more difficult boss-like enemies. In terms of a stat spread, we're going to be going with 45% magicka, 45% health, and 10% stamina. The reason you want this stamina is for general sprinting, but also for that extra power attack when you rush into an area and try to kill one of the enemies as fast as you can. 45% magicka will then let you reanimate this enemy or two corpses if you want, and then heal them and yourself if need be. 45% health will keep you alive in some pretty bad scenarios, and with your heavy chitin armor, you shouldn't really need much more protection. This build isn't a tank, but you're no noodle either. Shouts like Marked for Death and Tear Soul are also great for this build. You can even join the Dark Brotherhood if you're looking for more people to kill to practice necromancy on. And that finishes off this week's necromancy build, the Heretic. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you do enjoy Skyrim builds. Like the video if you enjoyed the Heretic, and if you're looking for the perk link, we've put it in the description for you alongside our social media links. My name is Michael, this was the Heretic, and I'll see you soon ready to nerd out with some more Elder Scrolls, Fallout videos, and Star Wars lore.